My name is Adele Failes-Carpenter. Just to give a quick visual description of what's happening on the screen, I'm a white femme person in my mid-40s. I have long brown hair and bangs. I'm wearing pale dangling earrings and a purple top, and my background is blurred. This is an excerpt from my piece titled Broomsticks and Bodycon about my child's political education. The week of Cora's 10th birthday and my 42nd, we pay a visit to our friends and their new baby. Cora, an only kid who's prone to mopping the floor with her body like she's warming up for a contact improv jam when she's asked to help with something, snaps to a tender and patient attention in the baby's presence. We giggle at his curling toes, grasping her finger, while he gurgles a spitty smile. I find his mere presence awe-inspiring, but equally so the fact that people keep wanting to make new life, that they keep laying chips on the world in this particular and particularly demanding way. At some point in my many years of trying to conceive, I had to admit that my eventual despondency came not just from the limits of my own aging body, nor comparing the contents of our savings account to the costs of IVF, but also from the ways in which the world had changed and perhaps worsened in the years since my co-parent, Miriam, had given birth to Cora. November 9th, 2016, Cora is too young to understand the election results, but stares at us with wide eyes as all the adults in the house cry our way through breakfast. A year later, I'm rocking Cora to sleep in her room after attending a protest against a gathering of white nationalists in our city earlier the same day. She raises herself off my lap, carefully inspecting the insides of my ears. I'm checking to see if there are Nazis hiding in there, she tells me matter-of-factly. I thank her because checking for Nazis in the space between our ears seems like a thing we should probably all be doing more often for the people we love. November 2023. Cora's attentive silence as we walk down Market Street on a rainy night, surrounded by other families and children, to the chain link fence surrounding the APEC Heads of State dinner, where Biden will be arriving. The rind on the cardboard watermelon slice Cora has colored is soggy and dripping green pigment at its edges. Normally, Cora would be making her displeasure at the cold, the late hour, loud and clear, but she seems to register that people don't bring their babies out in the rainy night for fun. Her eyes meet mine silently. I know it's cold and we need to find dinner soon, but someday I think we'll be really glad that we were both here, I say, my words catching because I'm suddenly struck by the absurd courage and inadequacy of this scene, a line of strollers draped in plastic sheets facing a line of riot cops. The light overhead changes again from red to green, reflecting off the wet blacktop, a silent light show for Palestine. Cora nods solemnly. As a child, I was preoccupied with injustice and grateful when adults respected me enough to discuss it, and so always imagined that as a parent I would talk openly about the contradictions of our present with my own kid. But it turns out my child quickly becomes anxious in and would often rather avoid conversations about how unfair the world is. She was sober and pensive when attending protests in defense of migrant rights or against anti-Black police violence. But at other times, she's been disinterested, particularly in instances involving those issues most proximate to her own life. For what felt like, and indeed was, a short lifetime, Cora seemed to doubt that homophobia even existed. By 8, she'd become a walking wiki of RuPaul's Drag Race competitors and was keen on bragging to her friends about all of the times she'd seen live drag. She liked knowing she was born in an apartment in San Francisco on Folsom Street and that this lent her a certain amount of queer credibility. She knew very well that most families don't have two moms and that where both parents live with their kids, they don't typically also have other partners. But when we would inquire if she might join the rainbow group at her school or why she hadn't bothered talking to the other kid in her class with queer moms, her invariable response would disappoint us as much as our questions seemed to mystify her. Why would I? Cora exchanged passionate love notes and drawings of wedding dresses with her first grade bestie. She and her friends hatched plans to communize. 5 of us will marry each other, and 100 of us will live in a big hotel with 100 different rooms, and everyone gets a couple of kids to take care of at night. Gender was expansive and flexible. She'd often correct me regarding other kids' shifting pronouns. In 2nd grade, when she shared the headlines for the Daily Annual, a tabloid-like elementary school newspaper she had taken to writing, included were Boy tries to use girl's bathroom alongside moon can be seen over playground in the middle of the day. I tried to inquire how she knew that the kid using the girls' room wasn't just using the bathroom that was the right one for them. She rolled her eyes, knowing exactly where I was headed, impatient and patronized by the gentle prodding of my inquiry, and assured me that the issue at stake was not one of policing trans kids' use of bathrooms, but about intervening on sexist antagonism. No, Amma, this kid is not a they. He's just always trying to make girls angry any way he can. If Cora experienced her extended family of queer and trans aunties and uncles as a fact of life, instead of something carefully wrought and in need of defense, what value was there in introducing to her a sense of threat and alarm? I expect the world and its brutalities are coming for young people in ways that we can only begin to imagine. Was my job as a parent to impart and prepare her for the unfreedoms that lay ahead, or to help her to live inside of those freedoms well enough to develop a sense of love for and entitlement toward them, such that she would eventually refuse a world without them? Thank you so much.